Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be doing a little bit of work maintenance on Agatha. I've had Agatha now for 3 weeks, something like that, and although I have used her a couple of times, one of the things I says to Ricky that I was going to do was give it a little bit of a once over. So while I've been using it, I've been noticing a couple of rattles from the back end, which I think is the brake cables, I think. So I just want to have a look at that. And also, while I'm at it, just give her a little bit of a tune up, because I've noticed when you're, say, cruising at, say, 35, 40, she seems to be a little bit, what's the word, a little bit hunty. Chuggy a little bit, not very smooth. So I've got a feeling that the mixture might be out slightly, timing could be out slightly, so I am going to give all that the once over, get the distributor cap off, check the points gap, see that they're okay. I've got a feeling everything will be just fine, but it's just one of them things. The car's not been used for a very long time, almost a year I think. And as you know, when Ricky pulled it out the garage, we had to do things like the brake servo and things like that. So I think it's time now the car had a little bit of a tune up, just to make sure she's now running nice and she doesn't let us down. So plugs will be out, dizzy cap off, points checked and all that, timing checked, and I'll also check the mixture on the carb as well. So let's get into it. One thing that does impress me about Agatha is actually how tidy she is inside, and you know, given how old she is, how well everything looks in here. You know, the seats are still relatively nice and tight, because all Leyland stuff does go a little bit Nora Batty as it gets older, you know, as can be seen a little bit on the driver's seat squabs. They do go a little bit Nora Batty-ish, but Agatha's doing really well. Really impressed. So we'll take her out for a spin later on as well. So let's pop the bonnet and listen to that. Oh yes, top quality metal. So my first port of call is obviously in the distributor. I've already removed the cap. We do have a very nice, good looking cap, all nice and clean, not too much pitting, and also wherever I've put it, here we are, we have a really good rotor arm, but it does need a little bit of a polish up, and we do that the old fashioned way. We used to do this back in the 70s, ground onto your tyre and polish. That's better, all nicely polished. Focus. Sorry if you can't see that, but let me assure you that's nice and clean. So I'll put that in there so I don't lose it. So looking at the points, maybe the oil pad is going to need a little bit of oil, just a drip, nothing more. Now I've already, I know it's a bit difficult to see in there, but I've selected my feeler gauge of 15 thou, something like that, and I can't get the feeler gauge in there without prizing them open. So a quick inspection of the points is needed, and obviously re-gap those. Those are just about to close up. As you can see, I'm not sure if you can see there, it is on cam. So yeah, it would have had a very wide dwell angle, you know, hankering performance a little bit. So that's first thing that I'm going to do, is reset those points. Maybe I might have to take them out and just polish them up a little bit if they're too badly pitted, but I think they're actually okay. One of the important things to do is keep this pad a little bit damp with oil, simply because you've got plastic there running on metal, and it does look like it has worn slightly. So them points were about to cause Ricky a problem. or me a problem. So that's something that needs doing right now. So I've removed the points and opened them up, as you can see there, and there is a little bit of pitting going on. Nothing drastic, they've not pitted too much, but eventually, again, that's something that will cause a problem if they're not flattened back out. So it's just a case of some very, very fine wet and dry. Use dry, of course, and just polish these back up and remove the highs and the lows. And with the miracle of time, not sure if you can pick that up, there's a little bit of wear going on, a little bit of pitting, but nothing too serious. But them are nicely polished up and nice and flat again. So now I can put these back together and put them back in the distributor. So that's the points back in. I've made sure I'm still on cam. Obviously none of that has been moved. Now down the bottom of the points, there is a little notch, and if I can find it, and a little peg. And then all I need to do is twist my screwdriver against that one way or the other and open the gap slightly. There is a very, very slight gap in there, trust me. Now all I need to do now is get my feeler gauge in there and feel for how tight that gap is. Do excuse my hands. Now I can actually see a nice visible gap there where I couldn't before. So you know, I think I'm going to leave it at that. That's just slightly grippy, but that'll do for me. And then all I do is just lock up the lock screw. And double check that I'm happy with that. Yeah. A very, very slight amount of grip on there. That will do. That's lovely. Right, so I'm happy with that. All I'm going to do now is literally put a drip of oil on there so that it soaks in, and that will keep this cam nicely lubed up. So the next thing I'm going to do is pull the spark plugs out. I'll do it one by one. That's the distributor cap all nicely on. Check around the engine bay that I've not left the rotor arm out. Well, how many times have I seen that done? So I'm going to start with number one and pull the plug out, and let's have a look at that. So I've got a good gap on number one plug. I'm not sure if you can see that. Got a good gap. I'm just a bit worried about the colour. It does look a little bit too light. So it could be running a little bit lean. I usually like, don't drop that, I usually like this top of the electrode there, the bit that's showing. I like that to be a nice coffee brown, you know, like a latte type colour. That to me looks a little bit too grey, so that suggests to me that it could be running a little bit weak. So we'll check the rest of them, gap them up. No need to clean them up as such. They're pretty clean. Yeah, obviously a little bit of soot around the edge there, but that's nothing to worry about. It's not excessive, it's not built up. So yeah, I'm quite happy with those. Those can go back in. I have had to close the gaps slightly because they were just a little bit, let's just say maybe 0.5, 0.4 of a mil too much. Not a lot, but it's enough to cause some running issues that maybe some people wouldn't notice, but it's something I picked up on while I was driving it the other day, that it just round about the, you know, 30 to 40 mark, it was just a little bit uncomfortable. So we'll try and make it nice again. So let's check the rest of the plugs. There's no real need for me to record that. It's pretty much rinse and repeat, same thing. But what I am going to do is mark where the open part of the electrode is on the outside of the plug, and I'll show you this later on. and we're now up at number 4 plug, and as you can see there, again still quite light in colour, so they've all been quite consistent. So that just tells me that maybe it is running a little bit weak, and I can adjust the mixture. And again, I've got that little notch there showing me where the exposed part of the electrode is, and I'm just going to wind this one in, and I'll show you why, because obviously these are going into the combustion chamber, so it's just showing me on the plug. These are old plugs, so they've already been pre-tightened down, but where I don't want that arc is pointing downwards. I want the open part of the plug really somewhere in this upper half. Now, as if by magic, I will show you where, obviously this one's not tightened down yet, but this one's over at 2 o'clock, so it's in the most open part of the combustion chamber. This one's over at 9 o'clock, so the open part is here, not pointing down. And same with number 1 there, it's pointing slightly upwards, about 11 o'clock-ish. So that just tells me, you know, obviously all these have not been done with a torque wrench, naughty naughty. These have got the washers on, so you can actually squash them down, but ideally you want the open part of your electrode in the upper part, not the lower parts, because that's where it's diverting its spark, and that's where the fuel is, you know, sort of being ignited, so you want it in the open part. It's not detrimental, but it's something things like really tuned engines, you know, especially on the racing circuit and things like that, they kind of do it just to get the engines nicely firing in a balanced manner. Obviously you've got single carb, so the fuel has to get, you know, diverted each way, but it's just something I like to do, and just as from a technical point of view. Now these have not been over tightened. The last thing you want to do is over tighten a spark plug, because when it breaks you're gonna have a right nightmare. So as you can see now with this one, it's still in the 3 o'clock position, so I'm quite happy with that. All good there. So now I think I will just richen the mixture up a little. So I'm going to take the dash pot off and just have a look, see where the jet is. So the jet is sitting probably a couple of mil below the level of the carb, which is more or less about where it should be. But I think I'm just going to take that jet down just a little and just richen her up slightly, so not too much of an adjustment there, not too much of an issue, and it's all done with that big nut somewhere under here, nice and easy. Ow, that was my head. Now that sounds good, nice even tick over. I really do wish you'd sort this manifold out. So if anybody's got one, let us know. Right, so I'm just going to let that warm up a little, and then I will mark the bottom pulley up there and check the timing. Oh, look at that, little bit of a leak going on there. Maybe it's a bit porous. Interesting, I'll have a look at that. She seems to be ticking over nicely. At the moment I've not got the air filter on, just in case I need to adjust the tick over later on. That sounds good. I like that. Ow, my head. Fucking thing. fucking hurts, that does. And I'm leaking. So I didn't want to talk over that, but basically that's, according to the manual, wants to be set at around about 1000 RPM, which is where it were, but we was only getting around about 4 degrees on the timing. So basically I can advance that slightly because I want it to sit around about here. Obviously it fluctuates obviously with the way the revs increase, so I'm not going to go too far, but I do want to just slightly advance that because I think it's just a little bit out, which it will be now anyway because I've adjusted the points and set the points correctly as well, so all that will throw the timing out. So that's just a case of undoing the dizzy clamp and find out which way she's rotating and turn it against the rotate. Simple. So if you're unsure which way the dizzy rotates, the rotor arm rotates, basically all you need to find out is what the firing order is, and on most 4 cylinders and on this particular engine it's 1 3 4 2. That's the order that it fires. So we find number 1, trace it down, so we got 1 3 4 and 2. So we know that 1 3 4 2, we know that it fires or rotates anti-clockwise. So just to advance the timing slightly, all I need to do is just give it a little nick clockwise. Easy peasy. So I'm happy now that that's advanced a little bit. Like I said, I didn't want to go too much, but that sounds really nice and even. No hunting going on, no chugging. So I've slowed it down now to a nice tick over. Let's go and have a listen to the exhaust, just because we can. Yeah, that sounds good enough to me. Right, so I think that's as much as I want to do on the engine for now. When I take it out later or tomorrow, I can then just dial in that mixture and see how it's performing. I've got a feeling I won't need to touch it. That seems pretty good. So let's put the air filter back on, close the bonnet and have a look at a few other things that I just want to have a look at. So after a quick drive around the block, just to make sure everything is a-okay, she feels much smoother. Quite happy with that. So now, as you can see, she's up on ramps. I just want to get underneath now and just find out where this rattle's coming from that I can hear. That'll be it. That's exactly what I can hear. Basically it's just a pivot that's loose. There's not too much slack in the cable, and I can also hear that squeak as well. That is blooming annoying, but I don't fancy getting the drums off today, if I'm honest. I'll listen to the other side. Pretty much the same, and it's one of them you can hear when you go over a bump, but that's not as bad because that's actually got a nut and bolt through it. How bizarre. And this one's just got a split pin, so that's what I can hear rattling around. So I think I might just put a washer in there just to tighten all that up a little bit. But yeah, it was just one of them noises I could hear, and it was a little bit annoying. Ricky, I think you're going to want an exhaust soon as well, because I'm pretty sure I can hear that blowing a little bit. Yeah, I'll investigate that. Tom, you put your hand in your pocket, mate. Bless her. Right, let's sort that out. That's better. Yeah, look, I thought I could hear it. There's a hole in your exhaust. And looking at the rest of the system, probably time you hunted for a new one, mate. Yes. Anyway, that's better. Yep, got some movement there, not too tight. Got some movement there, not too tight. Good. Right, let's turn around again. Let's get the front up on the ramps, and I just want to go underneath the front and have a look there. So we've got the front up in the air on ramps, and all I wanted to do is just nip underneath there and just have a quick look, quick check around. One of the things I wanted to do was just tighten up these steering rack clamps just to make sure they're nice and tight, because Ricky did report a little bit of a knocking. Now this was before I changed the rear displacer, and Ricky likes quite a high ride height. Now I don't. I've actually set it where it more or less should be, if a little bit lower, and that's because your drive shafts run through this aperture here. So the higher you take the ride height, the lower your drive shaft sits because of the angle, and also you're putting excessive angle on your CVs as well. So if there's anywhere, which there is, that will, with it being too high, that will actually cause it to rattle a little bit on full lock, because you're exaggerating the angle that the drive shafts are at. Now if I look at them at the moment, they're more or less level, which is where they need to be to minimise wear. There is somewhere, I mean this is the passenger one that we've changed. Now this one's actually better than the driver's side one, so if I little bit of movement there, which will be in the bearings in the CV joint. Now however, on the right hand side, I don't know if you can hear that, but there is a slight bit more play in that. It's not serious, it's not nothing that Ricky should worry about, but if it is starting to click on full lock, it could actually be the right hand side one that's causing the problem, not the replacement one that we replaced not so long back. Also I just wanted to go around, just check that everything's tight, all the bushes are tight, all the nuts and bolts are tight, and grease up those kingpins as well, because they've not been done since the last time I did them, which was probably 18 months, 2 years ago. So that's something I want to do as well, but I'll do that when it's back on the floor. I think I might be able to get in there actually. Yeah, I think I will, where it is. It might make it easier. And then once it's back on the floor, I just want to check the torque on those wheel bearings as well, because there is a bit of play, especially in the steering rack, which is fair wear and tear. I mean, it's nearly 50 years old. So yeah, there is a little bit of movement. I just want to see if I can take some of it out. I probably won't, but you never know. So that's all I really wanted to do, is just to have a quick look around. There is a little bit of oil leak from the gear selector shaft, which is normal. It's not a lot, it's not nothing to worry about at the moment, unlike Mrs. Wynne, where she will sit and piss a pint out every week. So that's something I've got to do on Mrs. Wynne. But this one's not too bad at the moment, but there is an oil leak I've noticed when I looked at the back of the engine there, where the fuel pump sits. There is a slight oil leak from there, so I want to just also check to see that that's tight, and maybe later on we can replace the gasket. That's if we don't put it round the oval first. So let me just go and get my socket set and just go round, just to satisfy myself more than anything. So underneath the front, checking around a few things. Okay, the steering rack did tighten up a little, not a lot, but I did find the lower track control arms loose, and also the I suppose they're the trailing link arms, they was a tad loose as well. So I've greased all the kingpins as well while I've been underneath here, and then obviously took the wheel trim covers off and spun the hub nuts round, probably an eighth of a turn round onto the next castellation on the nut. So though now you can shake the car and there's not too much in the way of play there. That's taken up quite nice. Driver's side being the worst. Bear in mind the driver's side is not the side that I've touched. Ricky has always had problem with the left side, so yeah, I've had this assembly off twice, 3 times now, whereas the right side I've not touched. So it was good to get underneath there and make sure everything's nice and tight, and I'm glad I did. So we've done the tune up on the engine. She's really nice, she performs well. Obviously tightened up the handbrake cable because of that rattle at the back. So now all I need to do is put the wheel covers back on, get her off the ramps, tidy up, and just take her for a quick spin, I think. That's one rattle I can't cure. Nice. Yeah, it was one of the things I noticed at low speed. She was a little bit jolty, and also going over the little speed bumps that we've got here. Bit knocky here and there. Oh, let's go over the first one. Nice. That feels good. When I took it out earlier on, every time I went over the speed bumps, there was a lot of knocking going on, and I would imagine that was down to those lower track control arms, and also the wheel bearings as well. So that feels good. And pulling away from 20 mile an hour in 4th gear, nice. And she's happily sitting now at 30 over a speed bump, lovely. And she's not too jolty now either. She feels really nice, much more pleasant to drive. There is some noise, and I think it's within the bushes of the car. Again, you know, these bushes are got to be what, 30 odd years old, so 40 years old maybe. You know, if they're the originals, they're nearly 50, so I expect that. But I think out on the road, once I'm away from all these bumps, she's going to be okay. Yeah, nice. Very good. I'm impressed with myself. So that's some much needed preventative maintenance work done on Agatha, and she's driving very well indeed. Really impressed. Yeah, all good. I likey. I likey. Right, Agatha, maybe take you for a spin tomorrow. Nice long journey, how's that? So that's all from me in this video. Hope you've enjoyed watching a little bit of maintenance work done on Agatha. So don't forget to like and subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you in another video real soon. So in the meantime, take care of yourselves and each other. See you later. Bye bye.